The Eglinton Crosstown LRT has been one of Toronto's most anticipated transit projects in decades, and yet it has also become one of the city's most infamous. Spanning 19 kilometers with 25 stations from Mount Dennis in the west to Kennedy in the east, the line was first pitched as a way to relieve congestion across Midtown, speed up east-west travel, and finally give Toronto the kind of modern rapid transit infrastructure other major cities have been building for years. But for all its potential, the Crosstown has been plagued by endless setbacks, delays, and missed promises. Once again, Torontonians find themselves facing disappointment. Despite earlier hints from provincial officials and transit leaders that September 25 might be the month the long-awaited line would finally open, it is now clear that this will not happen. The line is not opening in September, and the reasons behind this are both technical and political, revealing just how complex modern megaprojects have become. Think about it, the line is there, the trains have been ready for about 10 years now, and the only thing that has been on time so far has been the excuses. Let me tell you the latest excuse. Apparently the trains still have performance and reliability issues. Now that's bureaucratic code for, we built the thing, but it doesn't quite work. That's where we are with the Crosstown. The trains run, empty, by the way, just to rub it in, but when it comes to opening the doors for real passengers, nope. The city has built the world's most elaborate train set that only children of Metrolinx executives are apparently allowed to play with. To understand why September has slipped away, it's worth recalling the longer history of the project. When the Crosstown was first approved under former Ontario Premier Dalton McGuinty in 2009, the expectation was that it would open in 2020. That deadline seemed ambitious but achievable given the billions of dollars committed to the project and the urgency of Toronto's transit needs. Yet as years have passed, a series of complications emerged. Lawsuits between Metrolinx and the private consortium Crosslinx Transit Solutions slowed work to a crawl at times. The COVID-19 pandemic further delayed construction schedules and disrupted supply chains. Complex underground station construction, particularly at major intersections like Yonge Eglinton, led to longer than expected work periods. By 2022, the project had already blown past its original deadline, with Metrolinx declining to give firm opening dates, citing the risks of promising what they could not guarantee. So what's the excuse this time? Well, apparently the trains don't work properly. The trains. You know, the one thing that the entire project is about. 15 years, $12 billion, and they're like, yeah, it's got reliability issues. But here we are looking at trains that can't even do the one job go forward without being a problem. And every month, some Metrolinx rep comes out with the same line, we're in the final stages. They've been in the final stages longer than the Bachelor finale. At this point, I'm convinced final stages is just their way of saying stop asking because we have no idea. Fast forward to 2025, and after nearly half a decade of missed targets, there was a renewed sense of optimism earlier this year. By midsummer, Metrolinx officials proudly stated that the civil infrastructure was substantially complete. Tracks were laid, stations were finished, and the TTC had officially taken over operational control. Driver training had been completed, and the TTC's control center was now managing train movements along the corridor. All of these milestones made it appear as though the line nightmare of uncertainty was finally nearing its end. Premier Doug Ford himself hinted that September could be the month that Toronto would finally see trains carrying passengers along Eglinton Avenue, and called it a game changer for commuters who have endured years of traffic snarls and lane closures caused by construction. For a brief moment, it seemed as though hope had returned. Originally, this thing was supposed to cost about $5 billion. Now it's pushing $12 billion. Do you know what you could do with $12 billion? You could buy every Torontonian a Tesla. You could gold-plate the Gardiner Expressway. You could buy an NHL team, maybe even one that actually wins. But then, as so often has been the case with this project, reality intruded. In July, TTC interim CEO Greg Percy tempered expectations by warning that a September opening was a reach. While he didn't rule it out completely, his words carried weight. The TTC would not compromise on safety or reliability simply to meet a political deadline. The warning signs grew louder in August, when Metrolinx publicly admitted that vehicle reliability was still a problem. The LRT fleet, made up of Bombardier-built cars now managed by Alstom, was experiencing recurring issues during testing and prevented the system from running smoothly across a full day of service. In other words, while the vehicles could operate, they could not yet guarantee the kind of reliable, all-day, everyday performance that a major urban rapid transit line requires. For riders, a brand new line that constantly breaks down would be worse than no line at all. and officials knew that they could not afford the kind of disaster that befell Ottawa's Confederation Line, which opened prematurely in 2019 only to suffer repeated breakdowns and derailments that eroded public trust. This brings us to the core reasons for the September delay. The Crosstown has not yet undergone its mandatory 30-day revenue service demonstration. This test is not optional. It requires the system to operate as if it were open to the public, running full schedules with vehicles, staff, and control systems all working in tandem. Only after this month-long period, with no major failures, can Metrolinx and the TTC sign off on opening the line. As of early September, that demonstration period had not even begun. With September already slipping away, there was simply no way the line could pass this test and still open within the month. The timeline had collapsed under the weight of its own requirements. The announcement that September was no longer possible came with the usual spin. Metrolinx leadership reassured the public that the line would open soon, pointing to October as the new target. CEO Michael Lindsay stressed that while they shared the public's frustration, there was no substitute for ensuring reliability and safety. He argued that the Crosstown had been put through relentless stress testing, and that the issues being resolved now were necessary to guarantee long-term performance, yet for many Torontonians the words rang hollow. After years of lane closures, delays, lawsuits, and broken promises, patience had worn thin. For local businesses along Eglinton Avenue, many of whom have suffered catastrophic losses due to prolonged construction, another month feels like another betrayal. For students and workers who had hoped for the line to be operational by the start of the school year, the disappointment is tangible. The Crosstown has become not just a transit project, but a symbol of Toronto's struggle to get big infrastructure done on time. Political considerations cannot be ignored either here. The Ontario government has staked significant political capital on delivering transit projects, with Premier Ford regularly touting the Eglinton Crosstown, the Ontario Line, and the Scarborough Subway extension as examples of his government's investment in Toronto's future. Missing yet another target date is embarrassing, even if Ford tries to soften the blow by pointing to October as just around the corner. Critics argue that this project, like many others, have been plagued by over-promising and under-delivering, a cycle that erodes public confidence in both Metrolinx and Queen's Park. Transit advocacy groups note that Torontonians deserve honesty and transparency, rather than vague reassurances that keep shifting as deadlines pass. From a technical standpoint, the issues are serious but not insurmountable. Vehicle reliability problems can be fixed with time, software upgrades, and careful testing. The 30-day demonstration period, while frustratingly slow for the public, is an essential safeguard to ensure that when the line finally does open, it operates smoothly. The TTC, having learned from Ottawa's mistakes, is adamant about avoiding a launch now, fix later mentality. That cautious approach may save Toronto from greater headaches down the road, but it does little to soothe a public that has already waited years longer than expected. So then what does this mean for riders? Well, for now, buses along Eglinton continue to bear the burden, slogging through congested traffic with little relief in sight. The full benefits of the Crosstown, faster travel times, improved connections to Line 1, 2, and 3's replacement buses, and a seamless link across the city remain out of reach. When it does finally open, the Crosstown will undoubtedly transform commuting patterns in Toronto. It will slash east to west travel times, relieve pressure on existing subway lines, and serve as the backbone of midtown transit. But until that day comes, riders are left with more waiting, more frustration, and more skepticism. In the end, the September 2025 opening date joins the long list of missed milestones that have defined the Eglinton Crosstown's troubled history. While October remains the new hope, even that comes with no guarantees. What is clear is that Metrolinx and the TTC are determined to prioritize reliability and safety above political deadlines, a stance that may frustrate impatient commuters, but could ultimately save Toronto from an Ottawa-style chaos. For now, though, the Crosstown remains what it has been for a long time, a construction project, a traffic headache, and a promise deferred. Until the first trains rolled with passengers on board, Toronto will continue to wait, and the phrase soon will remain the most overused word in the city's transit vocabulary. But for now, we have at least a reliable delay announcement system. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching, and happy transiting.